You are listening to the CADDle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The CADDle Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the CADDle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your tech geek in residence, and with me, as always, is my partner.
It's Rocco.
It's Rocco, just Rocco. And because he's just Rocco, he always gets stuck with the engineering joke of the week. Yes, Rocco, you're not getting away from it. But this one I chose...
How do we get rid of this?
You come up with some really good intros for yourself where I don't have to fill in the blanks instead of just saying it's Rocco, and I'll think about it.
How about Rocco the Remarkable?
Not too late. You're not remarkable anyway. That's all right. But this is a civil-focused topic today with a civil guest on with us, so I chose a very specific joke for this one. Ready? So, Rocco, what's the difference between a mechanical engineer and a civil engineer?
What's the difference, Jim?
Mechanical engineers build weapons and civil engineers build targets. See, so that's the difference between the two. I don't know, that one strikes me as funny. I like that. All right, so we have Oh, come on. Just because you're not a civil engineer, you don't get the jokes. Tim appreciated it. All right. So speaking of Tim, folks, we do have one of our favorite guests back on the podcast today. A guy who's on here so often, I'm thinking about just letting him take over my spot on the show, and he can deal with Rocco's bad sense of humor. So Tim Yarris, the Civil 3D product manager for Autodesk, is here once more. Welcome back, Tim. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, it's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to come on, even with the bad jokes.
Even with the bad joke?
Even with the bad jokes.
Even with the bad jokes. Oh, come on. Civil engineers build targets. That's funny. I don't care what nobody says.
That's funny. I like that.
Okay. So, all right, folks. So, as always, when I have a guest on, I always like to start by, getting them to tell us a little bit about themselves. I know Tim's been on plenty of times, but we have new listeners now and again. So, Tim, what do you think our listeners should know about you?
Oh, boy. Let's see. So, again, just thanks again for having me on, both Jim and Rocco. So it's good to talk to you guys, and definitely always appreciate the opportunity to spread the word about what we're doing with the products here at Autodesk. So like you said, I'm the product manager for Civil 3D. And so what that means is I spend a lot of time working with others at Autodesk to define what goes into each release of Civil 3D and to kind of plot out our roadmap for the product. I spend a lot of time listening to customers so that I can really understand their challenges and requirements, and then I balance those requirements against where we want to take the product from a strategic business standpoint. So it's a bit of a balancing act, trying to keep a lot of people as happy as I possibly can, if that makes sense.
It sounds like a fun job. No
worries.
It's
a fun job.
There you go. Hey, you get the right attitude for it. You're always a positive guy. I'm always impressed at how upbeat you are with all of the folks who I'm sure are yelling at you.
Yeah, what else can you do? It's
fair
all
enough.
Good. Everybody just trying to do their best here.
There you go. All right, so Tim is here, and he's fresh from the revelatory halls of this year's Autodesk University to talk to us about all the cool new announcements and tools that became or are about to become public knowledge for the infrastructure space. Look, folks, unfortunately, Rocco would not untie me from my desk, so I didn't get to go to AU myself this year. But let's be honest, I have no doubt Tim's going to give us a much more intelligent rundown than anything I could provide you folks. All right, so Tim, let's start with the Civil 3D tools first, right? I understand that you guys made a pretty big announcement around Project Explorer and the grading optimization tools for Civil 3D. So what's the good word there?
All right. So for grading optimization Project Explorer, I'll start with a little bit of background on both of these tools. For a couple of years now, these tools have been available to subscribers of the Autodesk AEC collection, and both tools, they had a ton of functionality to Civil 3D, so they were worth the extra charge that we charged on top of Civil 3D. Ever since we released the tools, customers let us know how they're both great, but they'd be even better if they were more tightly integrated with Civil 3D. Project Explorer especially it can make every customer's day-to-day workflows a lot more efficient. So we want to make it easier for customers to install and use both of these tools. We want to encourage people to use both of these tools. And we've been working behind the scenes for quite a while to change that, and we finally made it happen. So personally, my highlight of AU was that I got to announce that as of early October, all Civil 3D customers have access to Project Explorer and grading optimization for no additional charge.
Hey, that's always a good answer, right? People love it when there's no charge.
Right on.
Nice.
Right on.
That's a good thing. All right, so look, Tim. I mean, it's always great, right? Getting more tools into everybody's hands, especially at no charge. That's always appreciated, right? But where is it that you see, right, as kind of the product director there, where do you see people getting the most benefit from the grading optimization and the Project Explorer tools?
Well, grading optimization is just awesome. So, I mean, it's just incredible how much time it saves at the beginning of the grading process. It's so cool that you can just set up some constraints, let it do its thing, and get a grading surface back in Civil 3D within minutes instead of spending hours or days tweaking feature lines and grading objects. And I mean, grading objects and feature lines still have their place in the process, but adding grading optimization at the front end of that process just saves tons of time. And then for Project Explorer, there are tons of tools in there to make it much, much easier to find your way around a model, make edits, and pull object data out into custom tables and reports. But again, I see its greatest benefit in just how you can really easily find your way around a model that you might not necessarily be familiar with. And I mean, customers send me a lot of complicated drawings to troubleshoot different things. And whenever I get one, generally the first thing I do is crack open Project Explorer so I can get a really quick picture of how the drawings put together, how the objects relate to one another, what the naming scheme means that they're using, and tons of other things. So I use the heck out of Project Explorer, and I'm just really excited that more customers are going to be able to use it day to day as well too. So
yeah, I can't agree with you enough. It's actually become kind of our default support tool in the civil environment. Yeah, I know it wasn't what we weren't your target market, but man, what a benefit for us when people come to us with bizarre issues and problems and extreme grading conditions to be able to use Project Explorer to just open up and go, oh, I see everything you did here. It's right here.
Yeah,
just tons of hours on the support end.
Yeah, and just being able to find the relationships between like different objects so quickly is just so awesome. It's just really great tool to really dig in and kind of educate yourself about how something's put together.
Yeah. Yep, I'm a big fan. So, all right, Rocco. So, this is a pretty big announcement, right? That everybody, right, even if you just have standalone Civil 3D, can access these tools now. So, what do you think? I mean, do you think a lot of our Civil 3D only clients are going to be, excited about this license change?
Yeah, it's I want to say about a year ago, we got an email in from a pretty disgruntled Civil 3D customer who was like, well, why are you guys talking about this on the podcast when I can't even get it? I'm a Civil 3D user, and and he, I got to say he was right, and hopefully he's still listening to our podcast. So if you are, sir, well, we pulled on Tim's ears enough, and here we are. So
you guys are that persuasive.
I like it. We're gonna take credit for what you did, Tim. Good job, Rocco. That's how you market.
Take it. It's all good.
I love it. All right, so look, folks, we have done just a bunch of training and presentation, around these two plugins, right, since they were released. I mean, we've talked about them, like Rocco was saying, just a bunch of times on this podcast, because I think they're such important tools, right, and learning how to use them well should really be at the top of every civil design firm's list. And I think, from their initial release under the Autodesk banner, they have been hugely beneficial to a lot of our listeners, all right? And we've seen nothing but really positive responses to the people we've helped implement them here at Zentech. So Tim, with this increase in the licensing scope, right, out to all Civil 3D users, the question I know we'll get from clients, right, is going to be, will it work on my version? So what versions does the new licensing model apply to, and are there any limitations to some of those versions?
Yeah, I mean, we really want these to be available to as many customers as possible. And so The licensing change is for all versions of Civil 3D that Project Explorer and grading optimization support. So everything that can use grading optimization Project Explorer, you have access to these. So just a quick reminder, I mean, grading optimization is available for Civil 3D 2022 and 2023. Project Explorer is available for 2022 and 2023 as well, but it's also available to Civil 3D 2020 and 2021. And I mean, just simple little thing, but I mean, there's a single download that applies to both 2020 and 2021 for Project Explorer. So just a heads up about that. But it's awesome that, I mean, it's 4 versions back, or basically all the existing supported versions of Civil 3D all have access to Project Explorer. The only caveat that we have with the licensing is that it's some educational licenses are excluded from it. So those educational licenses will be somewhat restricted in their use of grading optimization and Project Explorer, but we're currently working on removing that restriction. So, I mean, again, as many people as can possibly use it, we're doing our best to accommodate them.
Perfect. Yeah, and once you get that lifted from the educational stuff, Rocco and I will take credit for it, so it'll work out nice.
That's great. Yeah, please do. Yeah, so thank you in advance for all that you do to
You're very
make
welcome.
our products better.
We're here for you, Tim. We're here for you. So, have there been any newer or recent updates to the grading optimization Project Explorer tool specific to the 2023 release? Anything new and that's been added in?
Yeah, you bet. These tools are going to continue to keep growing as time goes on, and I mean they have in 2023 as well. So as of the 2023.1 update for grading optimization, that's been up there for a little while now. You now have the ability to define separate cross slopes and longitudinal slopes along a linear path, and so this is really great for cases when you're trying to incorporate linear features in your grading plans, such as sidewalks and driveways and other paths like that. And then on the grading, and then on the Project Explorer side, we're just about to release a whole bunch of enhancements to Project Explorer for 23. And I mean, all these enhancements that we're making are all specifically customer requested enhancements. And that means, so things like a couple big things that we're doing for Project Explorer for 2023 that's coming out soon are support for catchment objects. So really popular request for customers to be able to like just view, edit, report on all the catchment objects within a drawing. We got that in there, as well as, again, really high requested feature is the support for property set data on all supported objects within Project Explorer. So this will let you do things like just adding and editing common properties across multiple objects, adding property data to custom tables and reports that Project Explorer does so well at creating. So, I mean, yeah, 2 really big things that we're super excited about on the Project Explorer front. And I mean, again, it's going to continue to evolve over time, and we're already working on kind of what's going to be for 2023 and beyond for Project Explorer and grading optimization. So good stuff coming.
Cool. That's great. I mean, like I said, it is just Project Explorer in particular. Its reporting output is mind blowing. So every little bit that we can add in it to really flesh those out, that's great.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So look, folks, like I said earlier, right? I think everybody should be using these tools every single day, and that's why I kind of wanted to make sure we talked with Tim about the who and the how and the why of their new availability for all of our listeners, right? Along with a little bit around their features. And I want to take a break here. But in the next half of the show, I want to hear a bit about Autodesk University this year, right? And what cool new things Tim announced or saw while he was out there this year, all right? So stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the CADDle Call podcast. Hey, everybody. This is Jim and Rocco with ZenTech Consultants. And we wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the training options that we have available here for you guys at ZenTech Consultants. We offer public training classes as well as private custom courses for all of your software and design needs. So, Rocco, why don't you tell the folks what kind of training we offer and how do they reach out to us to get it going for them?
Yeah, Jim, we cover everything from Bluebeam to Autodesk to Microsoft to BricsCAD. to civil site design training and beginner through to advanced level topics. Like you said, both public and private courses. If you got a group and want to run a class specifically for your team, we can help you. So just feel free to hit our website. We're at zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK, or you can give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
There you go, Zentech Consultants for all of your technology training need. All right, everybody, welcome back to the CADDle Call podcast. We're talking with Tim Yarris of Autodesk, all about the cool new stuff in the infrastructure space. So, Tim was out at AU this year, and I want to hear about what, new announcements he made for his group, as well as, get some input on what other really cool things he saw that can have positive impact for all of our listeners, right? Autodesk University is kind of the big announcement event for upcoming and new releases each year. And we do actually, just a little teaser here, we have some other guests coming on from Autodesk in just a few weeks to talk about some big changes and long-term goals for the civil world. But I want to focus on what's available to our listeners today. All right. So Tim, let's just first start with, how was AU this year, right? Any big events that you really enjoyed out there?
Yeah, I mean, AU was great. I mean, it's always a really fun event, and it's great to see people. It was pretty exciting to be in a new location this year. It's been in Las Vegas since, for many, many, many years. And so this year we kind of shifted, and it was in New Orleans, which was a first, obviously. And I'd never been to New Orleans before, so I was pretty pumped to explore a new city. Great event. As can be expected with being in a new location and not having the event in person for 2 solid years. There were some bumps in the road for the event itself, but I mean, all in all, it was awesome. Best part of AU for me is always seeing so many people face to face, and it was especially great to see so many people live and in person after 3 years. I've been keeping in touch with people via Zoom over the last couple of years with the pandemic and everything, but I mean, nothing beats being able to bump into somebody in the hall and have a quick, spontaneous chat. And so, I mean, I really missed that, and AU kind of got me a bit recharged on that front. So just seeing people was super cool. The folks on my team, the product management side, I mean, they co-presented a whole bunch of classes that were really well received, on classes on things like collaboration for Civil 3D and pressure network modeling, bridge design, and all sorts of other things. And for me personally, AU is a little bit different of an experience in that I don't get to go to many classes, and I actually didn't get to go to any classes at all this year, which kind of sucked. But the flip side of that is the vast majority of my time is spent, I mean, in meetings with customers. And I mean, I know people tend to cringe at sitting in meetings all day and everything. But I mean, I got kind of charged by it because, I mean, this is talking with the customers that are passionate about our products, and it got to be a really great way for me to kind of, again, just sit in the same room with people and just hear about the cool stuff that they're working on and talk with them about our strategy, and kind of mix both of those together and have really great conversations about how we can work together with those customers to really understand their challenges and solve some of those challenges in the future. So, I mean, all in all, it was just a great event.
Yeah, AU is always fun. My personal preference, right? I always like the stuff that happens after hours, right? So yeah, how were the parties and the after hours networking events? Did you stay out of trouble this time, Tim?
I mean, I'd like to say that. I'd like to be able to say that. Well, I won't say anything that might incriminate me. I mean, but I'm boring. I mean, yeah, it was great to go out and have a couple drinks and have some. I mean, the food in New Orleans is just spectacular. That was one of the greatest things about the place. The after hours events I went to were, I mean, they were great. I mean, again, it was, I just keep going back to being able to talk to people that I haven't seen face to face in years. It felt normal again, which was just cool.
Which is a good thing, right?
Yeah, normal was so awesome. And I mean, it was so good to just be able to have a beer and just chat with a bunch of folks. But I mean, sorry, I can't really share any like exciting drama about me like tearing up Bourbon Street every night. I know some people that did, but
Yeah,
it
there are always a
wasn't.
few who do.
Absolutely.
All too often, that's me, right? I never quite managed to stay out of trouble, and I think that's why Rocco didn't let me go. Listen, I blame Autodesk. There's just too many events they put on with good food and good music and open bars. You can't let me at an open bar. My inner Irish comes through, right? And then I get loud and prone to telling very lengthy stories, which you really actually, I'm sure, surprises nobody. So just kind of my nature. So Tim, what were some of the highlights of AU, kind of from the Civil 3D customer perspective?
So what I heard, I mean, the customers that I talked to, like toward the end of the event especially, I mean, the classes are always what make AU just amazing. I mean, just seeing what our customers do with the products is just so cool, and how passionate they are and how they can channel that passion into kind of teaching others and sharing what they've learned and teach others how to be like more efficient and more successful. It's just so cool. I mean, the classes that my team was involved with were great, but again, I mean, just my favorite classes are the ones that the customers present, because I just get a kick out of seeing how our customers use our products in really cool ways that we didn't necessarily expect them to. And then outside the classrooms, it was really exciting to see so much about civil infrastructure content on the main stage events that our CEO and his staff host. And it's like being in a room with thousands of people with all kinds of lights and screens and stuff like that. And I mean, seeing our products up on the screen just gave me a charge. And I mean, our civil infrastructure products usually don't get quite as much of the spotlight as I'd like. I mean, but this year things like collaboration for Civil 3D and our upcoming support for IFC and our longer term civil work sharing concepts got time on the main stage, which was super cool. And I mean, at the end of the week, I mean, my team's favorite event is always our annual Civil Infrastructure Technology Preview, or I think they called it our Futures Briefing this year. And again, this year it was the very last event of the year on Thursday afternoon. And so it was really cool because it was a standing room only crowd, which was super awesome. And so we got to present to a whole bunch of people what's coming in all of our civil infrastructure products. And so we had more than 300 people in the room with us, which was just so much better experience for us than the last 2 years of virtual AU, where we couldn't really read everyone's reaction to what we were talking about. And so it was cool to be just up there explaining what it was and kind of rolling out all these cool new tools and seeing people like actually get excited about them. And applause was nice too. But I mean,
hey, those always help.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it was just really cool to just be present while people were kind of seeing live what was happening. So just all in all, just a really good experience for us.
Awesome. So like Tim said, right, there's always that big keynote address from the Autodesk CEO out at AU, where they talk about all the big new goals that they're working towards as a company, right? And there are roundtables and breakout sessions where everyone gets to hear about what's on the near horizon for their preferred product versus what the longer term goals that you tend to get from those C-level executives, like I said, up on the main stage, right? But I think that for us here listening today, right, having the big wig, right, for the civil infrastructure group here with us, we get to hear directly from Tim about what's coming soon in his area of expertise. And for a lot of our listeners, I think that's far more important. I think we all want to know what tools are going to make our lives easier in the next few months, rather than necessarily where Autodesk is planning on going over the next decade. So Tim, what about just base Civil 3D? What can listen? I know you got some announcements and things coming out that you may not be able to talk about yet, but what can listeners look forward to in Civil 3D for the next release?
We do have a Civil 3D 2023 update coming out, and we also have updates to plenty of our other civil infrastructure products, all coming out very soon, actually probably right around when this podcast is going to air, if memory serves me when this is going to air. So good stuff there. Civil 3D and recap updates. both of those are going to be pretty significant. And I mean, so significant that I venture to say that you'll probably have to have both Ramesh and me back on at least once more, maybe even a couple times more, to talk about all those enhancements by themselves. So there's a lot of good stuff coming out
big
in
changes,
both of those. Cool. Big changes for sure.
Very, very nice. Okay, so big change. Can't tease me something, even a little thing.
Let's see. A lot of good.
I love putting Tim on the spot.
Okay. No, this is a good one though. So I mean, this is a good one. This is I mean, completely off the cuff, but I mean, like performance. We have gotten, I mean, over the last quite a few years, we've gotten a lot of flack about the performance of Civil 3D and how as drawings get bigger, Civil 3D slows down, and that's been a huge focus area for quite a while. And so we've done a bunch of work just kind of in ways that you might not necessarily expect, but just ways to speed up Civil 3D so that it just has to process less things every time that you kind of pan and zoom around and every time that you make a tweak to a drawing. So we've done a lot of work on performance that I think people are going to be pretty excited about in the upcoming update. So Stay tuned.
That is huge. Yeah, performance is always the number one thing when you come to the civil tools, right? Because you're dealing with huge jobs and huge amounts of data. Every little performance upgrade. I think this is the one industry where that is always appreciated. All right, so Rocco, right? So from a client standpoint, right? How big of a thing are these, the incremental tool updates, right, for the infrastructure group, right? Do you see it as a motivator for them to kind of upgrade and install the new releases as soon as they come out to make things better, right? Get these performance boosts? Or do you find that most people just kind of wait and do like a single yearly update when the big release comes out?
I personally see it as a motivator. It's all over the map in terms of how people, when they update, how current they are. I think the more the updates come out, the more it's easier to deploy for customers rather than seeing, making a huge change after, say, 2 years or so. But we see that it kind of depends on the size of the firm. I find that the larger firms are more, they move more quickly, right? They're up to date. They have more resources available to test and deploy, versus the smaller firms especially right now, are super busy. And so it's I got to get to that kind of thing. So it's all over the map.
Okay, fair answer. All right, so Tim, just kind of want to revisit a concept here with you. So I know that a lot of the tools, right, that you guys are putting out, they are version limited, right? Because certain versions you can't handle the new designs and the new processes. But like you were saying earlier, right? For like the grading optimization and the Project Explorer, you worked on adding those tools and making them available in earlier versions, right? I mean, in general scope, when you guys are working at it, do you guys really focus and look at what you can add to those older releases, or do your group tend to focus on just moving forward and making it better as you go, further on?
Yeah, that's always kind of tricky, because I mean, both you guys are absolutely right. You guys are both right. How do you like that?
Yeah, that never happens.
But I mean, you guys both mentioned at some point that, I mean, there are plenty of customers that are kind of slow to upgrade. I mean, projects can last for years, and it can be super challenging to move from one version to a new version of Civil 3D in the middle of a project. And so, I mean, a lot of our customers have multiple versions of the product running at the same time for different projects, and in a lot of cases in many cases, customers will wait, kind of like they'll upgrade every other year or something like that. And so a lot of customers that like to work on just the even numbers of Civil 3D, and that's perfectly fine. But I mean, unless we have a compelling business case, we try to do our best to keep new features and functionality in like the current or in future versions of the products. And there are a handful of reasons for this. First is that adding new functionality it always requires us to really thoroughly test not only the new workflow that we're adding, but any workflow that could be affected by it. Any other feature that new workflow touches. We make sure that we do our best to make sure that the new stuff doesn't break anything that's already there, basically. Second reason is really closely related to the first, in that porting things back to a previous version means we have to do all that testing on not only the new version or the current version, but also on every previous version that we port it back to. And so it takes our development team's time away from developing more new workflows or addressing other issues in the product. And so, I mean, that just means we really just want to keep moving forward, and looking back like that kind of slows us down from our forward progress. And then finally, we just want to encourage customers to move up to the latest versions. And then there's so much work behind the scenes on, again, just overall performance and quality, that it's just really in everyone's best interests to, whenever possible, migrate forward with us. And so if only the current version has all the great new features that everybody wants, it's kind of like the carrot at the end of our stick to encourage people to kind of move forward and stay current with the product. So
makes perfect sense. And really, folks listening out there, I can't agree with this enough. I get, you don't always want to jump immediately. I think incremental updates are great, and I know that you don't always want to be the first one on the newest release, but there are folks who are pushing the limits of the Autodesk licensing, hesitating on the upgrades, and man, that's a bad idea. There's so many new beneficial tools that Tim and his group have been adding over the last few years. You really need to bounce up. And I certainly understand your standpoint.
You're paying for it.
Yeah, and you're paying for it, so you might as well.
Exactly. It's a no-brainer. I mean, even for just the performance upgrades and any resolutions to known issues and stuff like that, that makes it worthwhile just in that. Even if you're not going to use the shiny new toys that we put in the product, I mean, even for just the efficiency gains, it makes sense.
Absolutely. Listen, folks, if you if you lease the Autodesk software and you have it sitting there and not using it, that's silly. It's like buying a beautiful new Porsche, but being afraid to drive it, so you're going to drive your old Ford Pinto from 1972 instead. It doesn't make sense. Why are you paying for it if you ain't using it? So look, all right. So it's one thing to just kind of talk about these new tools and what they can do, but the proof, as they say, is in the pudding. And you can listen to me ramble on about how cool this is or that tool is forever, but you're not going to be convinced until you actually download the tools and try them out for yourself, even if it's only on a test basis. So, Tim, where do folks go to get the latest and greatest versions of all of these cool infrastructure tools that you guys are putting out?
You can download every Autodesk product that you have access to on either your account portal, that's at manage.autodesk.com, or the Autodesk desktop app if you have that installed on your machine. I know a lot of larger, like enterprise-sized customers don't have that installed on their end users' machines, but if you do, then hey, get it there. And I mean, both of those things goes for both Project Explorer and grading optimization. So if you're a standalone Civil 3D subscriber who just now has access to these, then yeah, the account portal, manage.autodesk.com, that's where you can find them. They'll show up right below the installer for Civil 3D itself.
There you go. Perfect. They don't even have to go search for anything other than where they're already used to going. So make it easy.
You got it.
Perfect.
You bet.
So, all right. So, Tim, whenever you're on, I always let you kind of wind us out with a shout out to your civil infrastructure roadmaps. I think they're really important. So that's why I always bring it up. So why don't you tell folks where they can go to get those, why you think it's important, and that they take the time to give you guys feedback.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Again, so we have a public facing version of our product roadmap on if you're familiar with the tool Trello, it's basically like a kind of a system that has like a whole bunch of cards and everything, and you can kind of dig into the cards and see what's on there. But if you Google Autodesk Civil Infrastructure Product Roadmap, then you'll get a hit for our Trello roadmap, and it basically kind of lays out what we have under consideration for all of our infrastructure products, and it's kind of organized by different categories. Like typically there's like a platform level that will benefit all customers, but then there are different categories for like roads and highways or bridge design or land development and that sort of thing. And so each of those cards you can pick, and you'll be able to kind of see more information about whether something is like basically more details about kind of what we mean by each of those cards. And most of those cards are inspired by direct customer requests that we've gotten, and many of those even are just requests that were posted to the Civil 3D Ideas board. If any of those cards came directly from Civil 3D Ideas, then we include a link out to the original idea so you can kind of dig a little bit deeper into it. And then for the one really cool thing about this, about our public roadmap, is that you can actually, if you sign up for a free Trello account, you can actually vote for the items on the roadmap that are most important to you. So, I mean, like there are a bunch of things up there that have gotten some pretty significant votes. Like I think the most popular one up there is about quarter transitions. It's got 100 and some votes on there. So a lot of people giving a lot of traction to a lot of things. But again, we take very seriously the feedback that we get on that board, and we kind of incorporate our decisions about what it is that we're going to put development resources behind based on what kind of feedback we get on that board. And so one thing to look out for is that, again, once the Civil 3D 2023 update is out there very soon, we'll be kind of doing a scrub of that board to kind of move off and tag all the things that we have accomplished, we have implemented from that board in the new release. We'll be kind of cleaning those out, and then we'll be actually adding some more new things up there in the very near future. So highly recommend just kind of taking a look at that and seeing what there is to see. And again, keep checking back, because it's a living document. We keep adding stuff to it. So
there you go.
So that's the public roadmap.
Perfect. It's the best way for you guys out there listening to get the tools you need and get the things that you need addressed. All right. So, All right, there you have it, folks. All the cool new infrastructure tools and features coming your way, or at least the ones that aren't still embargoed right now. And like I said, we will have more announcements and details for what's coming from Autodesk for you in a few weeks. I'm sure that, like Tim said, he and Ramesh will both be back on, along with some other folks. All right, so I want to get us all out of here, but I want to do two things before we go here today. First, I want to let everyone know that after all my episodes spent teasing Tim over his many, many appearances here on the podcast, that Tim was a genuine mensch, and that means a good guy for those of you who are not from the Northeast like Rocco and I. And Tim actually did get Zentech hooked up as an Autodesk service partner specializing in the infrastructure field. So I can't tease him about that anymore. Believe me, Tim, I will find something new to torture you over on future shows. But
No question.
We do appreciate your help and our respect. So I just wanted to give the acknowledgement there. And secondly, as always, Tim, I just want to thank you for always volunteering your time to be here on the show with us. You always give us a good, solid, entertaining view of the infrastructure world, man. You're always a great guest, and we always appreciate you being on with us.
I always appreciate the opportunity to come on, guys. I really do.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we're out of here, and we will catch you next time on the CADDle Call podcast. All right, everybody, today's CADDle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net. Or you could even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from y'all.